Are Walmart shelves totally empty? Let's go see. I feel like everybody's saying the shelves are empty, the shelves are empty. And if there's one thing about me, I hate fear mongering. So let's go see if it's true.
It's time to speak up. Let's talk real bluntly about tariffs for a minute. So the Trump administration is saying, oh, we're in negotiations with China and the tariffs aren't going to be that high. And China said, we are? We're in negotiations? China said, we're not negotiating until you bring down the tariffs you've already placed.
Welcome back to the channel. If you've been scrolling through TikTok lately, you've probably seen something alarming, videos showing empty supermarket shelves across America, even at major retailers like Walmart. And it's not just your local store. Creators from coast to coast are reporting the same thing. In this video, we're diving deep into the growing crisis that's gripping the U.S. economy. Reports are now coming in that the once busy ports are eerily quiet, no cargo ships, no containers, no activity. America's supply chain is breaking down before our eyes. According to experts and trade analysts, all signs point to former President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff policies and a series of escalating trade wars. What started as a promise to put America first has now triggered a global backlash, isolating the U.S. from its biggest trading partners. Before we dive into the full story, make sure you're subscribed for ongoing coverage of the unraveling economic and political landscape.
It's time to speak up. Let's talk real bluntly about tariffs for a minute. So the Trump administration is saying, oh, we're in negotiations with China and the tariffs aren't going to be that high. And China said, we are? We're in negotiations? China said, we're not negotiating until you bring down the tariffs you've already placed. But Caroline Leavitt just said there will be no unilateral reduction in tariffs. So what is it? Where's the negotiation? If Trump says we're not lowering our tariffs and China says, we're not coming to the negotiation table until you first lower it, there is no negotiation table. And guys, there was a meeting in D.C. this week where industry leaders informed the administration that if they don't do something about tariffs and quickly, that we could see empty shelves in all of our stores within a couple of weeks. China has sent over 200,000 empty shipping containers to our ports. Do you see what's going on? We have poked the sleeping dragon and they are awake now. Not only are they not coming to the negotiation table, they are sending empty shipping containers to our ports. Everybody needs to, first of all, prepare, because this does not look like things are going to be going well in the near future. If you haven't gone to the store and gotten rice and beans and any essentials that you need to do that. You need to do that now, because there may not be things in the shelves in the next few weeks. I hope that's wrong. I hope we find a way around this, and I hope there's some negotiation that has happened. But right now, it looks like we're at a stalemate, even though the Trump administration is still telling people, oh yeah, we're negotiating. There are no negotiations going on, because China has said, no, not until you lower the tariffs. Guys, just be mindful. Make some preparations. You know what you would do if there was a snowstorm coming and it was going to last weeks or a month? You need to have those supplies on hand, because we cannot count on the fact that we can walk into our local grocery store and the things that we need are going to be there. That's life under the Trump administration. Go love your neighbor.
Are Walmart shelves totally empty? Let's go see. I feel like everybody's saying the shelves are empty, the shelves are empty. And if there's one thing about me, I hate fear mongering. So let's go see if it's true.
All right, I'll get to food in a second, but it's also very important to have first aid. Honestly, the over-the-counter pain medicine looks pretty good. For my friends with babies, the formula does not look too shabby. The same with diapers, but I will say the wipes look a little sparse. Dog food is, again, the shelves are fine, but this is pretty empty up at the top where they have the overstock. The cat food section is looking a lot better. The dry food is a little empty up at the top, but as you can see up at the top, they have the overstock for the cat. That's the canned cat food. Juice is super empty, and the aisle with like Capri Suns and stuff was super empty as well. The milk section looks pretty soft, maybe like a little sparse, but nothing crazy. There are definitely some gaps in like the almond milk and stuff like that. The yogurt section is very sparse. There is not a lot. The shelves are pretty empty. Okay, here's the meat section. I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I don't eat meat, so I never come here. It doesn't look super empty to me. Maybe like this is a little empty, the sausages and stuff. And maybe a little bit for the hot dogs, but it's definitely like nothing super crazy. And then let me walk down to the lunch meat. That also, oh no, that is a little bit empty. Not terribly, but definitely some gaps. This looks relatively empty again. This is like chicken breasts and stuff like that. I think the pork looks okay, at least to me. It doesn't look super empty. And then down here to like steaks and beef, definitely a few gaps. The soups and all the ramen is looking pretty good. The tuna and chicken is looking pretty decent. Canned tomatoes and pasta sauce are looking pretty full with a little bit of overstock left on the top. Canned vegetables are not looking too shabby. I don't see any huge gaps anywhere. Dried beans are definitely pretty empty. Rice, kind of the same thing, not looking super great. Actually, honestly, the big bags of rice, like the 10 and 20 pound bags, are completely gone. Flour is not terrible, but definitely some gaps. Peanut butter and jelly looks pretty good. The burger buns and like hot dog buns are a little low, but nothing too bad. And then down further is bread. There are a couple gaps, but honestly nothing crazy. And then on this side is a coffee. I don't really see any gaps, honestly. It looks pretty full to me. Snack bars are super low. There's like a bunch of gaps. Sugar is getting pretty low and there's nothing on top. On the other side though, the spices look pretty good and there's plenty of overstock. Gatorade is starting to get kind of low, and energy drinks, if you're an energy drink drinker, water doesn't look too bad. For the most part, it is pretty stocked up. On the other side though, over here where paper plates are, there's hardly any paper plates left.
And going to the grocery store in a scuba suit, there was stuff on the shelf. Then there wasn't. And then there was like an aisle full of gumball machines to make it seem like the shelves weren't empty, but like shit was not there. Of all the things, I could not get my hands on Old Bay seasoning for like 2 months. Finally, one of my friends found it in hers. She's like, oh, we have like 90 of them. I'm like, my ShopRite had none. But just, if you can, have like 1 or 2 things in your pantry shelves. I don't want you to hoard. I don't want you to go crazy. But when the guy who's supposed to have the answers, or at least a really good lie to tell the American people to calm them down, says like, well, I just assume all these businesses pre-ordered. And where are they going to keep this fucking pre-order stuff? Oh yeah, we just made a year's worth of icicle pops, and then like, you know, we threw them out in the backyard because they'll stay frozen out there. Like, my dude, no. I don't want to panic you, and I don't want you to hoard, but when we hear answers like that, you have to know that they don't give a fuck. They honestly can't conceptualize. They don't care. First of all, that item's going to be 145% more expensive. But second of all, that it might not be there, and they're just like, well, then you fly it in from France. Kiddingly, last year, when all this shit came through, when Trump got elected, I was like, well, you know, it's like to my friends, I was like, you guys know I go up to Canada once or twice a year. I guess I could bring you back some essentials if they're not. Like, for the first time ever, I was like, I could theoretically fill a trunk full of, like, flour and sugar and drive it home. Even if I have to pay tariffs on it. Canada will have stuff, the US won't. And, like, everybody kind of laughed, like, haha, we're fine. It's just such a weird world that we might not have, because Trump can't figure out how tariffs work. And this isn't like, well, this is COVID-19 and we don't know what it is, so maybe sunshine is the solution. This is like, no, products need to be shipped in if we want those shipped in items to be on our shelves. And the guy in charge of this is like, well, doesn't stuff just appear on the shelves magically? No.
America's empty shelves aren't a mystery, they're a symptom. According to shipping data and supply chain insiders, the ports of Los Angeles and Seattle, once humming with international trade, are now nearly deserted. Major shipping companies have redirected routes away from the U.S., citing uncertainty, hostility, and rising costs from retaliatory tariffs. Trump's trade wars began with China, but quickly spread to nearly all of America's allies and economic partners. Tariffs were slapped on steel, aluminum, agricultural goods, autos, electronics, and more. These moves were justified as protective measures, but they backfired. Now, after years of diplomatic and economic strain, countries like Canada and Mexico have built new partnerships elsewhere. China has strengthened trade deals with Latin America and the EU. Australia is looking to Asia for long-term stability. And Europe? They've begun excluding the US from joint trade initiatives entirely. As a result, American importers are facing higher prices, delayed shipments, and in some cases, complete trade freezes. Supermarket chains, unable to get consistent deliveries, are struggling to keep shelf stock. Fresh produce, electronics, and even basic household goods are disappearing. Consumers are angry. Small businesses are panicking. And yet, the Trump administration is doubling down, threatening new tariffs and penalties on countries that undermine American sovereignty.
The U.S. ports are empty, and that's obviously because of the tariffs. And so I'm just counting down the days till people start going crazy in the grocery stores. Like, if the grocery stores are going to have less and less product because now everyone is aware that the ports are empty, meaning no product is coming in, so the shelves are going to start to, not be replenished. Yeah, people are going to start going in there and going crazy. Now, whether they buy the items in bulk and, do that whole thing, or they just grab the items and run the fuck out of the store, I don't know. But I'm not really blaming anyone regardless, because this is what the fuck happens. Like, the tariffs have literally caused the ports to be empty. If the ports are empty, let's just context clues, that must mean that there's not going to be anything to put on the shelves, because there's nothing at the ports to collect, to take to the stores in order to stock the shelves with. There's nothing there. The U.S. ports are empty. Here the fuck we are. I don't know if I'm going to have to start growing shit and learning how to farm and shit. Like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm just seeing the pattern right now, and it's not looking cute. Nothing in the U.S. ports, bitch. I think the people are about to go crazy in these stores. I really do.
In a shocking moment, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent revealed he has no idea what's going to happen with the empty shelves. He just said, I assume retail stores pre-ordered a lot of stuff. This does not look good.
Right now, are you worried about empty shelves? Because they say that a lot of these, the supply lines and the cargo ships are being held up. A lot of people are saying, turn it around. With the tariffs this high, I don't want the product. Are you worried about empty shelves?
Not at present. We have some great retailers. I assume they pre-ordered. I think we'll see some elasticities. I think we'll see replacements. And then we will see how quickly the Chinese want to de-escalate.
There you go. It's not Trump's fault. It's the Chinese. I assume retail stores pre-ordered a bunch of stuff.
What we're witnessing isn't just an economic slowdown, it's a systemic breakdown of global trade as we've known it. Trump's aggressive foreign policy and isolationist stance may have rallied a political base, but the long-term consequences are hitting average Americans the hardest. Empty shelves, silent ports, and a vanishing middle class, this is the real cost of unilateral trade wars. Let us know what your local stores look like. Are you seeing shortages? Price hikes? Drop a comment and join the conversation. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned as we continue to track the fallout from Trump's economic policies. Stay informed, stay safe, and keep asking questions.